We're going to start by trimming any fat and bones off of all of our boneless, skinless chicken breast. Drizzle a little olive oil on both sides of the chicken, and we are going to season heavily with your favorite seasoned salt. I happen to like Tony's and adobo. We're over seasoning these on purpose because some of the seasoning is going to rub off into our pasta sauce, and it just creates a tastier pasta. Make sure and get both sides and the sides and top of the chicken. We don't want any bland chicken. Give them some space on the pan for roasting, and we're going to put them in a 450-degree oven for 23 minutes or until they come to about 165. We're now doing our mise en place, so we're going to weigh out 24 ounces of pasta, half of a cup of olive oil. We are going to smash, remove the peel, remove the rough end, and mince up 10 cloves of garlic. It's a lot, but it gives the sauce a lot of flavor. We're taking fresh baby spinach. I'm removing the stems. This is optional. I'm just a picky eater and I don't prefer them. You can chiffonade if you're trying to be fancy, practicing knife skills here. Otherwise, just give the spinach a rough chop. Nothing serious. Just don't want huge leaves of spinach running through our pasta and the final product. Now we're going to get the tomato and we are going to score it, which means cut a very shallow X on the bottom of it, drop it into boiling water, leave it in there for 30 seconds to 1 minute. You're going to remove it with a slotted spoon into some cold water, ideally with ice, but I didn't have any. Then this should be super easy to peel. Once it's cooled off, remove the peel, discard that. We're going to take the tomato and cut it in half. We are trying to remove the seeds and the core here. So using my fingers, I pulled out the seeds. I just cut that little stem off of the end. Now we're going to cut it thin one way, turn it into basically a small dice after this. And then I just gave it a rough chop afterwards. I did want the tomato pieces pretty small, so they melted in the sauce. Now we're going to measure 1.5 cups of Italian blend cheese. You can sub with Parmesan. So here's all the mise en place. We got salt, garlic. I'm adding some homemade basil pesto, all of our diced tomatoes, Italian cheese, pasta, and our spinach. Not pictured is the olive oil we measured. Time to pull our chicken out of the oven, put it on a heat-safe surface. Now we're going to get our digital thermometer and we're looking for 165. Now keep in mind carryover cooking. So that one's reading at about 163. Carryover cooking will take that up to 165 in the next few seconds. That one's at 172. We're good to go. Make sure to give the chicken at least 5-10 minutes to rest. In a preheated hot pan, we're going to add all of our olive oil and pretty immediately add in the garlic. We're trying to toast the garlic and really infuse the flavor in that oil. Now we're going to drop the salt in our water and give it a really good stir. Drop in your pasta. This needs to be done at a good time so the sauce and the pasta are done at the same time. Now the garlic has been cooking for about a minute or so, and you can see here in the picture at the bottom, some of it's starting to get toasty and golden. It is perfect and ready to go. So give it a good stir, and then we're going to very carefully add in our tomatoes. Y'all, these will pop and burn you if you're not careful. Just add a little at a time, gently place them in, stir it. Now the tomatoes are still cold. I think I pulled them out of the fridge at this point. So they're going to cool the oil down pretty quick. So once you've added some, you can go ahead and pretty much add the rest of them. Give it a really good stir. We're going to cook these for 7 to 10 minutes, making sure you stir your pasta regularly. If you don't stir it, it's going to stick. Now, the tomatoes have been cooking for probably 6 to 7 minutes. We're going to add my homemade fresh basil pesto. I just think this adds so much flavor. Give that a really good stir. And then after this is done, we're going to add in our spinach. Remember, I know it looks like a lot, but it's going to wilt down to almost nothing in the sauce. Just be careful, stir it around. We're looking for that to wilt. The chicken's been resting for at least 5-10 minutes and it is safe enough to touch. Now I'm going to slice it up. Look how juicy that chicken is. What happens when you cook it perfectly? I'm going to take these long pieces. I'm going to cut them in half. I'm looking for a small dice on my chicken. I'm a perfect bite kind of gal, so I want every bite of your pasta to have a piece of chicken in it. You're going to dice that up, and what I like to do is I like to take all that diced chicken and put it back onto the baking sheet. We're going to stir that diced chicken up in all the juices so we can absorb all the flavor of that seasoning. Our pasta timer just went off, so we're taking our spider and we're taking all the pasta directly. Now, we're not pouring that water down the sink because we're going to use that later. So it's okay if some of the water gets in there. We want that. Slowly and carefully start to stir it in. If I start to stir like crazy, it'll just fly everywhere. I'm taking my liquid measuring cup, being very careful and not to burn myself with that hot water. I'm going to pour in some of that salty, starchy pasta water. I end up doing between a cup and 2 cups every time. It depends on how dry the pasta gets. Once that is stirred well, you want to add all of your chicken. Now it's a bunch, it's like a full baking sheet worth. The chicken's probably semi-cool at this point, so you want to reheat it. Once that's done, you add the cheese about half at a time in a single layer. We want to turn off the temperature at this point, the pan, so it doesn't continue to cook the cheese. We just want the residual heat to melt it. Give that a really good stir, and you're pretty much done at this point. Look at the bottom there, the sauce has pretty much absorbed into the pasta. Once the cheese is all stirred in and melted, you definitely want to taste your food, y'all. Please don't serve food to anyone else, even yourself, if you have not tasted it. If it's too salty, add some plain water. If you need to add additional seasoning because think it lacks something, go ahead and go for it. This point, you want to serve the food pretty quickly. It is ready to go. Enjoy it. I hope you love it.